All right, so let's take a deep dive into this DHL Group's 2023 annual report.
Okay.
Pretty fascinating, right? To see how they did so well in a year, everyone's saying was like the worst market in over 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, a 6.3 billion EBIT?
That's huge.
Yeah, and get this, 3.3 billion in free cash flow before M&A even.
That's remarkable.
Really impressive.
Yeah, it really speaks to their strategy and how diverse their business model is.
Yeah.
They have these 5 core divisions that all focus on something different. Express, global forwarding, freight, supply chain, e-commerce, and then post and parcel Germany. They're not putting all their eggs in one basket, right?
Right, yeah, so they can kind of balance out the rough times by having strengths in all these different areas.
Smart.
Exactly. Okay, so let's break down those divisions a bit.
Sounds good.
Starting with Express, it seems like their focus on those time-definite international shipments is working really well, especially that time-definite international product.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just think about it. In a world where everyone wants things fast and they want to be sure it'll get there, having these set times for international shipments, it's a big deal. No wonder this division is such a big part of DHL's success.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's not just like chucking packages on a plane, right?
Right.
I mean, they've got these specialized solutions like Medical Express, using temperature-controlled packaging and stuff, for the healthcare industry.
Right, exactly.
That's pretty smart to tailor things to what specific industries need.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not even just about doing what people need now. It's about figuring out what they'll need in the future. Like their global forwarding freight division, they had some trouble in 2023. Air and ocean freight volumes went down.
Really?
Yeah, air freight dropped by 12.1%. All the major trade lanes were affected. And ocean freight, that decreased by 6.2%, mainly from Asia and Europe to North America.
Wow, so that's a pretty big drop.
Yeah.
So how did they handle that? They call it like this normalization of the freight market. But did they just kind of wait it out, or did they do something to make things better?
They didn't just sit around, no. DHL got smart and invested in digital transformation stuff, really paid off. They've got a standardized transport management system now. And they made some cool tools for customers, like the MyDHL Freight portal.
Okay, so basically they're using tech to streamline everything and make it easier to see what's happening.
Exactly.
Makes sense in this digital age, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But what about this Saludo thing? Sounds kind of sci-fi.
It's pretty clever, actually.
What is it?
So Saludo is like a digital marketplace,
Okay.
but for road freight. So it connects the people shipping stuff with the carriers, like truckers.
Interesting.
This lets DHL have way more transportation options, which makes them more flexible and efficient.
Oh, so it's kind of like a matchmaking site, but for trucks.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's move on to their supply chain division. So they're all about like custom warehousing and transport solutions, right? And they've got a huge network, over 1,400 warehouses around the world.
Yeah, it's a huge advantage for them.
Wow.
It means they can offer truly global service, supporting customers in all sorts of places and industries. That's a major part of why they can provide such complete end-to-end solutions.
That's wild. And speaking of comprehensive solutions, their e-commerce division seems perfectly placed for, all the online shopping growth that keeps happening. They handle everything from the warehouse to the final delivery.
Yep. And they've been expanding their network like crazy in all the key e-commerce markets, the Netherlands, the US, Poland, the UK. They're staying ahead of the game, making sure they can meet the needs of all these online retailers.
Makes sense. It's like they're setting themselves up for even more growth in a sector that's only getting bigger.
Right.
But let's not forget their roots, right? The Post and Parcel Germany division, they're facing that whole issue of letter mail volume going down.
Yeah.
How are they adapting to that, but still managing to stay on top?
It's a classic case of disruption and adaptation. While regular mail is declining, they've seen a big jump in parcel volume, probably driven by that same e-commerce boom we were talking about.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And they've got a 63.2% market share in mail communication for businesses in Germany.
That's huge, especially with all the competition from other delivery companies popping up.
Yeah.
How do they keep that market share when things are changing so much?
They're innovating. They've been investing a lot in their network of pack stations and post stations.
Like those?
Think of them like automated parcel lockers.
Yeah.
People can send and receive packages 24/7.
That's convenient.
Exactly. It's all about convenience and flexibility.
It sounds like they're making a good bet on the future of deliveries, especially with e-commerce changing how people shop.
I think so.
Okay, so we've got a good idea of each division now. Let's dive into the money stuff. What were some of the big financial highlights for DHL in 2023?
Well, they did very well. Total revenue was $81.758 billion. That shows they have a global reach and they're strong in all sorts of markets. Their EBIT of $6.3 billion, that shows they know how to manage costs and stay profitable even when things are tough.
Those are some seriously impressive numbers, especially with the economy being what it was. What were some of the key things that drove this good performance? Was it just a couple of divisions doing really well, or was it more balanced?
All the divisions played a part for sure, but Express was the real star. Showed it could handle the pressure and keep a healthy EBIT margin.
Interesting.
But it wasn't just about one superstar. The smart investments they made in areas like digitalization and cost management, that was really important for overall profitability.
It's like they're playing a strategic game of chess,
Yeah.
making careful moves all over the board to win.
Exactly.
Okay, let's break down those financials a little more. What about their income statement? Any trends jump out at you?
Their income statement shows they're good at keeping costs under control and making sure they're actually making money, not just spending it. Their gross profit stayed strong, which means they're being efficient in their operations.
Yeah.
And they managed to keep operating expenses down, showing they're really committed to not wasting money.
That's super important when the economy is so uncertain, right? It's not just about bringing in money. It's about making sure you actually keep some of it.
Exactly.
What about their balance sheet? What does that tell us about their financial health?
Their balance sheet shows a company that's in good shape financially and ready for growth in the future. Their equity ratio, which basically measures stability, went up a little, from 41.1% to 41.9%.
Okay.
This means they have a good capital structure and they're managing their debt responsibly.
So they're not just going crazy spending money. They're thinking about their finances strategically and keeping things balanced between what they own and what they owe.
Right.
That's got to be reassuring for investors, right?
Absolutely.
But let's not forget about cash flow, the lifeblood of any business.
Oh, for sure.
What insights can we get from their cash flow statement?
Their cash flow statement shows they're really good at generating strong operating cash flow. That's a big deal. It means they're taking their revenue and turning it into actual cash, which is what gives them the freedom to invest in growth, pay dividends, manage debt, all that.
That strong cash flow, it's like having a financial safety net, right?
Exactly.
They can make strategic moves and handle any unexpected challenges.
Right.
But they're not just sitting on that pile of cash, are they?
Oh, no.
How are they using it to make things better for shareholders?
They're all about rewarding their shareholders, both through dividends and share buybacks. In 2023, they paid out $2,205 million in dividends.
Wow.
It's a clear sign they want to share their profits with the investors.
Yeah.
And in November 2023, they started the fourth tranche of their share buyback program.
Okay.
For a total of $600 million.
So they're giving cash back to shareholders through dividends and then using buybacks to reduce the number of outstanding shares. That's two ways to boost shareholder value.
Exactly.
Buybacks can be kind of controversial, though, right?
Yeah.
Some people think they're a better use of cash than others. What's your take on DHL's share buyback strategy?
I think it's a strategic decision. It shows they believe in the company's future. By buying back shares, they're basically betting on themselves, saying they think their stock is worth more than the market thinks it is.
Yeah, it's like they're putting their money where their mouth is.
Exactly.
Showing investors they're confident about the long-term value of the company.
Right.
But let's shift gears a bit and look beyond just the numbers.
Oh.
What's the outlook for DHL moving forward? What challenges and opportunities do they see on the horizon?
Well, DHL operates in this really complex global landscape that's always changing.
Yeah.
Things like geopolitical uncertainty, regulatory complexities, and that constant threat of cybersecurity risks, those are all challenges for them.
Those are some pretty big hurdles to clear. How are they preparing to navigate those challenges and find new opportunities?
Their Strategy 2025 seems to be their guiding principle.
What's that focused on?
It's about focusing on their core business, digital transformation, and the employee experience.
Okay.
They're also putting a lot of resources into growth areas like e-commerce and sustainability. They know it's important to stay ahead of the curve on these trends.
It sounds like they're not just reacting to changes, but actually trying to shape them.
Yeah.
But with so much going on and so much potential for things to change, what are some of the key questions DHL should be asking itself as it looks toward the future?
I think a big one is how they can keep using technology to be more efficient, improve the customer experience, and find new ways to make money.
Yeah.
The world of logistics is getting more digital all the time,
For sure.
and DHL needs to be leading the way when it comes to innovation.
Right, so it's like a constant race to stay ahead of the technology curve, basically.
Exactly.
What other really important questions should they be thinking about?
Another one is how they can attract and keep the best employees in such a competitive job market.
Oh, yeah, good point.
The logistics industry relies on skilled workers,
For sure.
and DHL needs to make sure they have the best people on their team.
It's not just about the tech, it's about the people, right?
Exactly.
They need the right talent to drive innovation and make their strategic vision a reality.
Right.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Let's take a step back and look at what we've learned. What are your main takeaways from this deep dive into DHL Group's 2023 annual report?
For me, the big takeaway is that DHL is a tough and adaptable company with a great track record of success. They've shown they can handle a tough economy, make smart investments for future growth, and consistently deliver value to their shareholders.
Yeah, it's like they've figured out the secret formula for success in the logistics world. But as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, let's leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question. DHL is really emphasizing its digital transformation.
Yeah,
But what about the technologies that we haven't even fully grasped yet?
that's a great question.
Right. What emerging technologies could really shake things up in the logistics industry? And how could DHL use those to stay on top in the years to come?
That's what I'm wondering too.
We'll leave those questions for our listeners to think about.
Okay.
Join us for the next part of our deep dive where we'll dig into these themes even more.
Yeah, that's a good question to think about. The logistics world never stops changing, and DHL seems to be all about staying ahead of the game. But for now, let's circle back to those financials for a minute.
That good?
We talked about the highlights, but I'm curious to go a little deeper with those numbers. They're pretty impressive. Like, their income statement, that tells you a lot about how efficient they are.
Yeah, their gross profit was really strong, especially when you think about all the different services they offer across all those divisions. But what really stood out to me was their EBIT margin. They actually managed to improve it in 2023, even with the economy slowing down and the freight market going back to normal.
It's pretty remarkable. Improving their EBIT margin, which basically means getting more profit from each euro of revenue, in a year like that, it shows they're doing something right. They had to deal with higher costs for things like labor and energy, but they still managed to boost their profitability.
So it wasn't just about bringing in more revenue.
No.
It was about managing costs carefully and finding ways to do things more efficiently. It sounds like those digital transformation initiatives are paying off.
Absolutely. Those investments they made in automation, data analytics, and all that process optimization stuff, it's likely giving them a real return. It's a great example of how technology can help you be more profitable.
Totally. Let's look at their balance sheet now. You mentioned their equity ratio, which shows a good capital structure. But what about their main assets and liabilities? Anything interesting there?
Well, one thing that jumps out is their big investments in property, plant, and equipment. That shows they're serious about long-term growth. I mean, this includes their huge network of warehouses, their transportation fleet, all the infrastructure that makes their global operations possible. It's the foundation of their business. And they're not afraid to spend money to keep it strong and make it even bigger.
It's like they're building a whole logistics empire, piece by piece.
Exactly.
But these investments, they come with a price tag. How are they handling their debt levels, especially with such a big operation?
They've been pretty careful about managing their debt. Remember that impressive free cash flow we were talking about?
Yeah.
That gives them the flexibility to not only pay off their debt, but also invest in growth and reward shareholders. It's a tricky balance, but they seem to be handling it well.
So they're making money, managing their assets and liabilities responsibly. All good signs, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But let's not forget cash flow. That's like the lifeblood of any business.
Absolutely essential.
What's their cash flow statement telling us?
Their cash flow statement shows a company that's generating a lot of cash from their core operations. This means they're good at turning their revenue into actual cash, which is so important for staying financially healthy and growing in the future.
It's like having a well-oiled machine that just keeps churning out those euros.
Right.
But they're not just hoarding it all, are they? What are they doing with all that cash?
They're smart about it. They're using that cash flow in three main areas: operating activities, investing activities, and financing activities. For operations, they're using it to cover the basic costs of running their global business, like salaries, fuel, maintaining their facilities, all that.
Yeah, it takes a lot to keep all those logistics wheels turning around the world.
It does.
What about investing activities? Where are they putting their money to work to grow in the future?
Their investing activities are mostly about strengthening their existing infrastructure and expanding into new high-growth markets, particularly in e-commerce. This means building new warehouses, upgrading their tech, getting more vehicles and aircraft. Basically, they're laying the foundation for more growth and innovation.
So they're not just sitting back and relaxing, they're actively building for the future. Makes sense, with online shopping growing so fast and businesses and consumers needing new things all the time. But how about financing activities? How are they using their cash flow to work with the financial markets and keep investors happy?
It's all about balance. They're managing their debt levels carefully, making sure they can take advantage of growth opportunities, and they're giving back to shareholders with dividends and share buybacks.
It's like a juggling act,
Yeah,
keeping all those financial balls in the air.
right.
But that strong free cash flow gives them some wiggle room to make those strategic moves. Speaking of which, let's talk about the challenges and opportunities DHL is facing as it looks ahead.
Things get really interesting there. DHL operates in this dynamic global environment that's always being reshaped by things like geopolitics, technology, and what consumers want. They need to be quick on their feet and able to adapt to all these changes.
It's like they're running an obstacle course, but the obstacles are always moving.
Exactly.
What are some specific things they need to be ready for?
Well, geopolitical uncertainty is a big one. You've got trade tensions, regional conflicts, and economic volatility around the world. All of that can disrupt supply chains and affect demand for their services. And then there's the regulatory landscape, with different rules and regulations in every country.
Yeah, that regulatory maze can be tricky, even for experts.
Oh, for sure.
How is DHL navigating all that complexity?
They have a whole team of legal and regulatory experts who keep an eye on things globally and make sure they're following all the rules. It's a big job, but it's essential for keeping their reputation clean and making sure they can operate smoothly across borders.
It's like having a team of referees making sure they don't get called for any penalties. But let's not forget about the competition. They're not the only ones in the global logistics game. How are they staying ahead of the pack?
The logistics industry is super competitive with big players and new startups all trying to get a piece of the pie. DHL has to constantly innovate and offer something different to stay in the lead.
It's a race to deliver faster, cheaper, and better, basically.
Pretty much.
What are some of their strategies for staying ahead?
Technology is a big one. They're investing heavily in developing new solutions to make their operations better and improve the customer experience. Things like their automated parcel lockers, online tracking tools, and all their advanced logistics software, that's how they're leveraging technology to stay ahead.
It's like giving their whole logistics system a digital upgrade. Makes them faster, smarter, more responsive to what customers need.
Exactly.
But it's not just about tech, right? They're also really pushing sustainability. Why is that so important for a company like DHL?
Sustainability isn't just a nice thing to do anymore. It's a must-have. Consumers want to know that the companies they buy from are doing things in a way that's good for the environment and society. And investors are paying attention to sustainability performance, too.
So it's not just about being good, it's about being good for business, too.
Exactly.
How is DHL making sustainability part of its operations and its long-term strategy?
They've set some ambitious goals to reduce their carbon emissions, use fuel more efficiently, and transition to a more sustainable fleet of vehicles and aircraft.
Okay.
They're also working on minimizing waste, promoting recycling, and making sure they're sourcing their materials responsibly.
Sounds like they're trying to make their whole operation greener from top to bottom.
Yeah.
But it's not just about the environment, right? What about the social side of sustainability?
DHL is just as committed to social responsibility. They're focused on creating a diverse and inclusive workplace, promoting fair labor practices in their supply chain, and supporting community projects in the places where they operate. They get it. Social responsibility is crucial for their long-term success.
So it's about being a good corporate citizen on a global and local level.
Absolutely.
But let's not forget about the opportunities out there for DHL. What are some of the trends and developments they're hoping to take advantage of?
E-commerce is still huge. As online shopping keeps growing, the need for efficient and reliable logistics services will only increase. DHL is in a great position to benefit from this trend, especially since they've already invested so much in their e-commerce infrastructure and capabilities.
It's like they're building the roads for the future of shopping, making sure packages get from the online store to the customer's door smoothly and sustainably.
I like that analogy.
What about new markets? Are they looking beyond where they are now?
Definitely. They're looking at emerging markets, which have a lot of potential for growth as their economies develop and more people join the middle class. These markets come with their own challenges, but DHL's global reach and experience give them an advantage.
It's like planting seeds in new soil, hoping to grow a whole new crop of opportunities.
Yeah.
What other growth avenues are they exploring?
They're really into cutting-edge technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, and the Internet of Things. They're looking at how they can use those to optimize their operations, make the customer experience even better, and maybe even create totally new services and revenue streams.
So they're not afraid to push the limits of what's possible in logistics.
Not at all.
As we wrap up this part of our deep dive into DHL's 2023 annual report, what are your overall impressions of the company? What are your key takeaways?
My main takeaway is that DHL is a tough, adaptable, and forward-thinking company. They're in a good position to keep succeeding in this dynamic world of logistics. They've proven they can handle tough economic times, adapt to changes, take advantage of new trends, and still stay committed to sustainability and social responsibility.
It's like they have the right game plan and the right team to make it happen.
Exactly.
But as we move on to the final part of our deep dive, let's leave our listeners with another question to think about. DHL is a global company operating in a world that's more interconnected than ever.
And that interconnectedness comes with both opportunities and risks.
Exactly. What are some of those potential black swan events, those unpredictable and potentially disruptive things that could have a big impact on their business in the future?
That's a good question to ponder. Those black swan events could be anything from major geopolitical shifts and pandemics to breakthroughs in technology and climate change-related disasters.
It's a good reminder that even most prepared company can't fully anticipate everything the future might throw at them.
It's a good reminder that you got to be flexible and able to adapt no matter what business you're in. But let's talk about DHL's most important asset. DHL's got thousands of employees all over the world. How do they think about their workforce? And what are they doing to attract and keep good people in such a tough job market?
That's a big deal, especially in an industry like logistics where you need skilled workers. From what I've seen, DHL gets that. They put a lot of emphasis on the employee experience. They seem to really care about creating a good work environment, giving people chances to learn and grow, and building a culture that's diverse and inclusive.
It's not just about making people feel good. They're actually doing things to make DHL a place where people want to work. Good salaries and benefits are a given, but they go further than that. They invest in training and development programs so employees can pick up new skills and move up in the company.
Right, so it's about investing in their people, recognizing that they're not just replaceable parts in a machine. They're people with goals and families and lives outside of work. Happy and engaged employees are going to be more productive and loyal, right?
Absolutely. And DHL understands that. Attracting and keeping top talent is key to staying ahead of the competition.
Makes sense.
And it's not just other logistics companies they're competing with, it's companies in every industry.
Yeah, it's like a global battle for talent out there.
It is.
And DHL needs to make sure they have something great to offer.
Right.
Let's zoom out a bit and talk about DHL's commitment to corporate governance. Why is that so important for a company this big and with this much reach?
Strong corporate governance is a must-have for any company.
Yeah.
But it's especially crucial for a multinational giant like DHL. It sets the rules for making ethical and responsible decisions.
Okay.
Ensures transparency and accountability,
Right.
and builds trust with investors, customers, and everyone else involved.
So it's like a set of guidelines to keep the company on the right track, ethically and legally.
That's a good way to put it.
Right. What are some of the key parts of DHL's corporate governance structure?
They have a clear separation between the board of management, which runs the company, and the supervisory board, which keeps an eye on the board of management. This keeps things balanced and makes sure no one person or group has too much power.
It's like that checks and balances thing we learned about in government class.
Yeah, similar idea.
But corporate governance isn't just about how things are set up on paper, right?
Right.
It's also about the company's culture. How does DHL make sure everyone's acting ethically all over the world?
They have a code of conduct that spells out their ethical principles and what they expect from every employee, no matter where they work or what they do.
Okay.
They also do regular training on ethical conduct.
Gotcha.
And they have ways for employees to report any shady stuff they see going on. It's called whistleblowing.
So it's about creating an environment where people feel comfortable speaking up and doing the right thing, even if it's hard. That's got to be crucial for maintaining a good reputation and building trust.
Absolutely. Trust is hard to earn and easy to lose, especially these days. And DHL is definitely putting in the work to protect and build that trust through strong corporate governance and ethical conduct.
It sounds like they're really walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Yeah, I think so.
So, to sum up this deep dive into DHL Group's 2023 annual report, we've seen a company that's doing more than just moving packages around. They're delivering value for their customers, their shareholders, their employees, and the whole world. They had a tough year, but they still managed to get great results. That shows how resilient, adaptable, and strategic they are.
It's a company that's clearly looking at the big picture, investing in the future while sticking to their values. That's a recipe for success in any industry, but it's especially important in the world of logistics, which is always changing and moving so fast.
Couldn't agree more. And with that, we'll leave you to think about the future of DHL Group and the whole logistics industry. What new innovations will they come up with? What challenges will they face? And how will they continue to shape the world we live in, one package at a time?
Lots to ponder. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.